Hello, Thunder Wizards. This is Mahadeva, the OG Thunder Wizard, and I'm playing my Mojave flute, which I've had for probably 12 years. It's an empty PVC pipe with some holes cut in the front. Pretty amazing, huh? And I just got a Anasazi flute. It's much harder to play because it's got a bunch more holes that are spaced really weird. I'm not even going to try it. I'm not going to waste your time while I fumble through that. Today we are going to talk about the shift to 5D. And what does it actually mean? I don't know that I have the answer to that question, but we are going to talk about it. What does the shift to 5D actually mean? You know, before, a month ago, by the way, I'm feeling much better. And the reason why, I think, is I was actually quite worried. I was worried because I was still having some residual soreness in my shoulder, and even though it wasn't debilitating and it wasn't waking me up in the middle of the night, it was still there, and weakness in my deltoid, like I could barely lift my arm. Like the weakness was unbelievable. I mean, a while back, I couldn't even, bring my hand up to my head. I couldn't even lift like that. It wasn't painful. There was no muscle strength there. And I started getting a little worried. Like maybe I had broken myself, or I don't know, had an aneurysm or a stroke or something. I didn't know what the hell was going on. The strength slowly started coming back. The pain also started going away. And I went online and looked and actually found there's this thing called frozen shoulder, which actually does affect, guess what, people between the ages of, once you get past the age of 40. And after reading through, I found out that not only is it very common, it is just basically another form of psychosomatic TMS. And once my brain realized as I was reading it that there was really nothing physically wrong with my nerves or my muscle tissues, all of a sudden the pain was gone and strength started returning. It's amazing what our brains can do. But this has everything to do with what we're talking about, because my mental block for the past month has been trying to comprehend what I know is coming. And the reason why I know it's coming is because beings from the 5D and above are, for lack of a better word, they're making an incursion into our 3D world. They are actively seeking to come into our dimension. And I've shared with you my experiences of CE5, human-initiated contact with extraterrestrials. And again, just to be clear, extraterrestrials are not the aliens that you've seen on movies. They don't abduct you. All that stuff is human created. The actual abductions are done by humans, and they use robots and androids and things like that. They've figured out electromagnetic weapons that they can use to psychologically project images into you. They have weapons that can paralyze you so you can't move, or put you in a state, or black you out. That's what all those abductions are. And they are designed to mimic extraterrestrials for a bunch of reasons, but one of them is so that you will be afraid of them. And I know that because I've been interacting with, and I know, again, I've jumped off the deep end. I sound like a complete, total lunatic. If I would not listen to me. If you were to play me back, probably in somebody else's voice so I didn't recognize me. If you were to play me back 6 months ago to myself, I would say, what a bunch of nonsense. That person is either a fraud, a con man, or is deluded, or all three. But the reason why I know that those abductions are not ETs is because I've been interacting with ETs. And they literally have zero, there would be no payoff for them. They would gain nothing from it. Humans, on the other hand, gain from taking humans and doing medical experiments, psychological warfare experiments. They gain from that. These beings have nothing to gain. I guarantee you that they are so far beyond what we can even begin to imagine. And because I have felt their energy multiple times, probably, I don't know, between 7 and 10 times now, I've had them put energy directly into my body, through different chakras and energy centers and all of that. And the energy is of a completely different dimension. And what happens to me every time that I do that is I get split in half psychologically. Because half of me, the most vulnerable, the most emotional, transparent, the most spiritual part of me really just goes crazy with how wonderful and beautiful it is, and I want to go off with them. But the human part of me, the 3D primate part of me, absolutely either just can't understand what is going on, or there will be all kinds of other, different emotions, fear, confusion. And I go through experiences where during it and or right after it, I might be elated. I might be really high off of the experience. And then the next day, I will start feeling like, I'll start feeling paranoid and suspicious and fearful, and what are these people doing? So I've been spending a lot of time meditating on my feelings about this, because from my perspective, what's happening is that I am tapping directly into the 5D every time that I do this. Every time that either I call them and they show up, or sometimes as I'm meditating, I can feel them. Even when I'm doing live streams, sometimes I can feel them activating me. And maybe in some of the live streams you've felt it. But I really needed some time off from all of that, because while all that was going on, all of these other physical symptoms would come and go. And I'd have a lot of pain, and I would have stiffness, like couldn't move my shoulder. And it started really worrying me. And I started having this feeling that this 5D energy might be damaging to me physically. And that caused a real crisis within me. Because how am I going to continue this process if every time I do it, it feels like it's killing me? And this is part of what I was talking about last couple of days. And by the way, I've seen a few comments of people. One comment I loved on the live stream, I don't know when it was, last time I was on, somebody said, And I would have said the same thing, by the way. So I totally understand. A person said something to the effect of, I thought that I wasn't going to have any fear doing CE5 until I did it. And now I know what you're talking about. And some other people have thrown out, things like, yeah, you know what, I'm more uncomfortable with the human world than with that. I'm totally okay with that. And you'll have to forgive me. I know you haven't done CE5. You might have had a spiritual experience. I'm not saying you haven't engaged with them, but when you specifically reach out to them through a meditative, through the CE5 protocols, and you reach out to them that way, and they respond physically, when they show up physically, even though you can't see them, you know that you are right next to something that is not from our dimension. Now, I say that because that's my experience. I know that for some people, they may be, on my first 2 or 3, I really didn't notice anything, which tells me that they were really pulled back. And they started, now they're increasing the intensity more and more because that's what I want. I'm wanting that. So this crisis is something I brought on myself. But what I've been feeling, coming back to the subject of the video, is that I've been feeling that every time I connect with them, a part of me dies. And this fear that I'm going to disappear. I will stop existing. And I wanted to really go deeper in that, and I became aware, I think it was yesterday morning. Yesterday morning I woke up and I was sad. And I couldn't figure out what I was sad about. And after really going deep into my feelings, I came to be aware that what I was sad about was the feeling that the human world was going to disappear. And I became aware that even though I've got a lot of problems with humans and the narcissistic society that we live in and all of the violence and all the, control and destruction of the human spirit, all of that stuff, even with all of that, I still feel a strong connection to the human world because I am human. And I had a lot of conflict over that, and I became aware of that. The reason why I had such a huge conflict within me, this is now, I'm looking back a month and I'm realizing what happened to me a month ago when I had the first real physical experience with these beings. What I came to realize was that, and somebody else had said this too, that I became aware that I felt like I was betraying my own species. Like I was participating in the destruction of the human race. Certainly in the destruction of human society as it stands. And when we talk about human society, of course I'm talking about the deep state, the elites, the Illuminati, the matrix that has been created, the material, financial, AI matrix, the matrix that we live in right now, the human created matrix. So let's be clear, there are multiple matrices. The one that we want to get rid of is the banking system, the control of your thought process, the narrative, the control of governments, all of the garbage, nonsense, ridiculousness that is going on in the world right now. That matrix, the collective unconscious of that, is something worthy of destruction. But on an unconscious level, we may not be able to separate ourselves from that. Consciously, I know that you sit there and you cavalierly say, oh, I hate that, I would destroy it. But you don't know what the unconscious identification is and to what level you identify unconsciously. And if you're an honest person, you'll know that part of you identifies with other humans on multiple levels. If you don't, there's something wrong with you. So it's normal. I became aware on a deep unconscious level because this is the thing about my experience with these beings, is that when they are... Okay, let me back up a little bit. I've also come to the conclusion that we have all been interacting with these beings since human beings became conscious. Since before that time, these beings have been here, have been coming here and interacting with us. We don't necessarily notice them because we're 3D and they're 5D and above. So you can be surrounded by them, and if they don't want you to know, you won't know that they're there. But they can interact with you on very subtle levels. So when you're meditating and you get this inspiration, it's a very good chance there's somebody sitting next to you sending you an inspiration. When you have a dream that you see an angel, or you have a spiritual experience, a vision in meditation, and you have an experience of an angel, it's very well likely one of these beings, who aren't angels in the sense that we understand angels. They're not just spiritual beings, they're actually individuals with physical bodies that are extremely highly spiritually advanced and live in multiple dimensions. But we have needed for there to be a veil between us and them, and that veil is the 3D. So they have not been destroying the 3D, 5D separation. And they've been doing that for thousands and thousands of years. And now, this isn't coming from them telling me this. Again, I'm just looking at things from a critical thinking perspective to the best of my ability. And to the best of my ability, I have come to the conclusion that they have decided that it's time for them to lift the veil and show us who they are. That they're not guardian angels. They're not earth spirits. They're not, pick your religious filter. They are even more powerful than that. They are individuals. They are manifested physical beings whose awareness and consciousness is so powerful that from our perspective, we would only understand them as gods. But they're not in that sense. And they are lifting that veil. You needed to see them a certain way. And I know this as a spiritual teacher, I understand this concept because there have been many students that come to me, and for whatever reason, they will see me in a certain light. Many times there will be a transfer of energy, which may or may not come from me directly, may come from my guides. When I work with people, when I do energy work with them, things like that, there will be a transfer of energy, and it could just be you listening to me. I may say something that happens to hit a chord with you and you have an awareness. I don't know. But some people will put me on a pedestal and they'll see me as this, something I'm not, which is why I work very hard to make sure you know that I'm human as often as possible. And if it's in the beginning of my working with them and they start to see me as something I'm not, I don't talk them out of it. The reason I don't talk them out of it is because it's an opportunity for them to work directly with their higher self. And I am simply the symbol of their higher self. So it would not be in their best interest for me to destroy that, because that, the glossy-eyed look they have in their eyes as they're listening to me tell them something or giving them instruction is actually them interacting with their guides and their higher self. So I don't want to mess with that. As time goes on, eventually they do find out that I'm human, and then we have a whole different discussion because they want to leave and they feel like I betrayed them, and all that's really happened is now they're projecting all of their mommy and daddy crap onto me, and I have to wade through that. And then when they can finally see me as a human being, as an imperfect, limited human being, and they still want to learn from me, not because they want to connect to me, but because they want to learn my knowledge, then I can finally teach them. And with some people that never happens. It's for some people, they end up leaving me before they ever get to that place. Some people I choose not to work with anymore because they are unconscious or destructive, or both. But when I'm working with a student who is telling me how much negative feelings they have towards me in a respectful way, and I'm able to say, so do you still have something you can learn from me? And when they say yes, I say, good, that's why you should stay. Not because of me, I'm imperfect, but because you think I have something to teach you. Now I can finally teach you, because now what you're going to do is you're going to take the knowledge that I give you and you're going to go practice it, as opposed to trying to please me or consume me or whatever, psychological, normal human thing goes on. This is where we are at with these beings. And these beings are in the 5D. It is impossible to interact with them without that other dimension affecting you and changing you. It is impossible. And the way that it starts is, it starts with, you had a dream as a kid. You had an out-of-body experience. You saw an angel. I'm giving you things that happened to me. You went to church and you saw God. It starts that way. And they're keeping your 3D reality intact while they subtly go in there and begin to shift you, to put the seeds in you so that you can shift when the time comes. And then what ends up happening, at some point, they take off the veil and you see them for who they are, which might be shocking in and of itself, depending on what species they are. And then they say, we want you to become like us. And so they start treating you like family. They start treating you like, maybe you're their younger brother or sister, or they treat you as an equal. They just happen to have more power than you. And this is shocking. And this can cause some trauma. Because then you realize that there is no God the way you thought. There is no God sitting on a throne who has the book of life in front of him telling him who, Santa Claus, a list of the naughty and the nice. You start to realize that God never existed. That the only thing that exists is this quantum field of consciousness that manifests in multiple infinite forms. And then many of these forms become self-aware. And then they begin a journey to become that quantum field of consciousness and merge back with it. And along the way, they climb this ladder of consciousness, and as they climb the consciousness ladder, they become more and more and more powerful. And so what will happen with the human race is, who knows how many thousands or tens of thousands of years from now, but at some point human beings will be this. And Earth will be a center of a very highly advanced consciousness civilization. And the beings of Earth will travel to other planets in the universe where there are conscious beings who are just coming into awareness of themselves. And then humans will be the angels, the gods, the spirits, the elves of that world. And then we will spend tens of thousands of years working with them until they can then become aware of their own divinity and we can take the veil away. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that experience. I know I can feel that that's going to happen for me in future lives. But the thing to understand is that when you experience these higher dimensions, something in you has to die. Some part of you will have to die, just like Odin. Odin's sacrifice on the Tree of Life, he sacrificed himself to himself. He died to himself. And it's very easy to cavalierly throw out the New Age, I don't have an ego anymore crap. Because it's, saying it and actually experiencing it are two completely different things. I'm only speaking for myself. If you can stand in the presence of one of these beings and not, have that same kind, well, then my hair is off to you. I can still tell you that I'm still human, and this transition is huge. In fact, it's the hugest thing I've ever experienced. I mean, the crisis, the mental crisis I've been going through for the past month has been the deepest, most fundamental crisis I've ever experienced. I've never experienced anything like it, including the death of my spouse. Even the trauma of that, even though that was more emotionally painful, the psychological and mental trauma I have experienced, the confusion, the cognitive dissonance of realizing that my understanding of reality has come shattering down. This whole time, I had the feeling that humans were the pinnacle of created awareness, that in terms of physical beings who have come to cognitive awareness, we were the pinnacle. That isn't to say that I thought that human beings were anything special. I didn't think that, they were still very, very unconscious and destructive, but I just had no reason to believe that any other physical beings existed that had higher, my understanding was if you wanted to get to the level of these beings, you had to leave your body behind. You had to die, and then so for me there was just spirits, elves, gods, even souls, departed souls. They were in infinity, but I was finite. And there was this, and that's, if somebody incarnated on another planet, they would be what I now know as 3D. They would be and see and feel and function just like I do. It never dawned on me that the norm for created conscious beings is to be at much higher vibrational levels than human beings. That just never entered my mind. And now to understand that this universe is filled with infinite numbers of beings and civilizations that have power and vibrate at such a level, if I were to be in their presence, it could kill me. Just the shock of it. So, what I've come to realize today is that the human race is not coming to an end. The human race is in an evolution crisis. We've hit an evolutionary plateau. And as evolution always goes, it always goes in crises. There will be a plateau, and then there will be a huge evolutionary spike, which may mean the death of some species. It may mean the death of 90% of the species, and then the 10% that survive then evolve. They have to evolve in order to survive. We are in one of those crises because everything is coming down. Everything that we understand as civilization is coming down. Everything we understand about our limited human existence is going to shift. I can't tell you if it's going to be tomorrow or the next day or 10 years, or it's not going to be more than 100 years. It's not going to be more than 50 years. I can't imagine that. When these beings start to reveal themselves more and more and more, when they start to actually reveal themselves in their full form, when I said that, it just like, I felt something inside of me. I don't know if that came from me or from them, but it was, oh. I mean, there are going to be people who, they're going to have to wear their Depends. There's going to be a lot more adult diapers being sold. Why? Do you need some adult diapers? Yeah, I'm going to go meet some aliens that live down the street. Oh, yeah, we've been having a lot of those lately. Here are the extra powerful ones, Because it's, when I interact with them, I purposefully cover my eyes and I go into a meditative state. Not because I think they're going to appear to me, but because I just don't want the human part of my brain to distract me because it's of the fear. For me to survive the level of energy that they're giving to me, I prefer to be in a meditative state. Otherwise, I'm going to be in that state where you saw in the video where I was, almost, blubbering and crying because I was so frightened. And to avoid that, I have to keep it in a meditative state. But when they show up, there's no denying it. When they physically show up, and I don't know if they do that on purpose or if that, but my body goes, holy shit, there's 3 people in the room with you. And they're hovering over you right now. Holy fuck. And so we are going to evolve. And, here's the thing. I'll play it again because I think it's such a fun thing to watch. But I cut the line out. As I put this video up, I cut the line out of Christopher Walken's character where he said, it's an ambush. I took that out because I didn't want to, add unnecessary negativity. But there's some truth to that. So let's put that up here again. Let's watch that. Let's see.
See, I've been trying to remember things, but the more I try to think back, the more it all starts to unravel. It's like I've just been dreaming this life, and when I finally wake up, I'll be somebody else. Somebody totally different.
You saw something, didn't you, Eddie?
It's all just a big joke! It's a joke!
Brought to you by Pfizer.
Excuse me, I'm lost. Can you help me? Do you know if this bus goes to the end of the line?
I can't believe this. You people, you're in. I'm telling you, you're in for one big surprise. One very big surprise.
That's putting it mildly. Some people will be surprised. And that was from the movie Communion by Whitley Strieber. But let me be clear. If you watch that movie, I do believe that Whitley Strieber is an unfortunate victim of military deep state false flag abductions. And unfortunately, this has happened to thousands, if not, tens of thousands of people all over the world. And it's done by the military, and that's why that whole, they take you by force, they take you against your will, they experiment on you, they anal probes, they sexual experimentation, genetic experiments, they harvest your eggs, all of the hybrid stuff. All of that stuff is real, but it's done by humans. It's not done by actual ETs. And so, Whitley Strieber has come to some resolution about it, and he spiritualizes it. But what he experienced is not actually anything from off-world. But there's a similarity. There is a similarity. And the similarity is things you can't possibly comprehend that are actually happening to you. When I thought about going to the doctor because my shoulder was I didn't know there was such a thing as frozen shoulder. I didn't know such a thing existed. I thought something was really wrong with me. And I was hoping that I would be able to meditate my way out of it, and thankfully I have been able to do that. And then I've come to realize now, after researching it, that it's just another form of TMS, and I know exactly how to deal with that. And now that I know that, and my brain knows that, all the symptoms are going away very rapidly. But I forgot what I was saying. But I was thinking about going to the doctor, and what am I going to tell the doctor? I'm going to tell him my symptoms, and he's going to say, what happened? And I'm going to say, well, I've been interacting with these transdimensional beings of light from extraterrestrial planets. And it's been so shocking to me that I think I may have given myself some kind of nervous, they'll lock me up. I mean, what do you say to a doctor? Yeah, I met with an alien and I've got this now. So I didn't know how I was going to deal with it. Thankfully, I'm not going to have to worry about it right now. Just to let you know, what's been getting me through it is mantra. I've been chanting mantras all day long. When I wake up in the morning, I'll meditate, and then I'll just chant my mantra throughout the day, just to give my mind something to grab onto. And I'm also been focusing on having all of my feelings, feeling like I'm going to die, feeling like the world is going to end, feeling like I'm going to disappear, feeling like I am betraying the human race. Other feelings like, why are they hiding? Why don't they talk to me in English? Why this? Why do they do this? Why don't they do that? Why are they so hidden? What are they doing? Are they messing with me? All the fear and paranoia that all of the victim mentality that I come against was coming out in me. And I kept on having to stop and go, let's look at this objectively. I sought this out. I went out of my way to prove that this was real, and I did. And then once I opened that door, I couldn't close it. Once I knew from personal experience, because I physically experienced them and I saw their craft, and I physically experienced them and the interactions mentally, psychically, spiritually, when I saw that, my universe expanded to such a point which meant the universe I lived in came crumbling down. And there were times when I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back in time and not do it. Because I just wanted to live my normal, I wanted to be ignorantly blissful in what I thought reality was. Because I understood it. It was familiar. A lot of things about it I didn't like, but it was familiar. This, I don't get it. I don't understand what's happening. It was like a dog that I played with as a kid. I remember it's the funniest. I've shared it with you before. It was the funniest experience I've ever had with an animal. It was the neighbor's dog, and I had two toys that he really liked. And I showed him both of the toys, and then I threw them in two directions simultaneously, and he went. He couldn't figure out which one he wanted to run after. And that's how I've been feeling. Like somebody just split me right down the middle. And that's been extremely challenging for me. But once that door opened, and I knew for a fact that, I mean, just in our solar system alone, I don't know. I'm imagining there has to be thousands, if not tens of thousands, of different extraterrestrial species flying around. Not just our planet. I mean, they're up there. I remember this back in the 90s, back when we had videotape cameras. And it was up on when YouTube just came up. Somebody uploaded this to YouTube when YouTube was brand new. If I could find it, and if it was still there, I'd give you the link. And what he did is he set his camera on a tripod, and he was living in Los Angeles, where I lived at the time. And it was an apartment building, and he set the camera so that the shadow from the roof, cut like halfway through the lens, so that the lens was looking half in sunlight, half in shadow. And he said there was a specific angle, and if you caught it at a specific angle, and then he played, he says, watch this. And he hit record, and you saw that the sky was filled with spaceships that were hidden from, that they have this ability to bend light, so you can't see them. And he had the camera at such an angle where it screwed with that. And he says, I can only get a few seconds of it before my camera shuts off. So he's filming it, and then the camera would shut itself off. And every time he'd do it, the same thing would happen. I had that happen the other night. I was out there with my camera, and I was walking around looking for something, and the guys that I work with, I think they're trying to keep me from losing my mind by trying to infuse humor into it. And when I said something like, "Yeah, I guess nobody's out here," the camera shut off. I thought that the battery had gone dead. I went in and I turned it back on, and the battery was fine. Somebody shut it off. They were making a joke. The last CE5 I did was with the Jupiterians, very powerful stuff, and I was deep in meditation, and I had to pass gas, and I wanted to stay in meditation, so I did. And then 2 explosions went off down the street. So they have a sense of humor. They're trying to lighten me up so that I don't take things so seriously. But the feeling that we are under assault, that's not completely untrue. What is under assault is our limited 3D reality. And they are, in fact, actively seeking to, as much as let me put it to you this way, as much as human beings can tolerate, they are going to begin pushing us past our comfort zone, revealing the truth. And this is why people are losing it. This is why, if you're listening to me, you don't know why, you feel like you're completely losing your mind, or your emotions are going crazy, or you don't know what the hell's bothering you, but you feel like, I'm coming out of my skin. It's because these beings are actively seeking and actively doing things to reveal the truth, which is why we've got people conflating. The people like the David Icke people. David Icke has it completely wrong. David Icke, I think, has some kind of perhaps a mental issue. I think he might have some kind of personality disorder. I think there might be something wrong with him mentally. So he's conflating things, he's mistaking things, but the base feeling that people have is accurate. The Saturn-Moon matrix, you know, when people talk about the Saturn-Moon matrix, there's some truth to that. What is not true is that there are not beings seeking to trap you and, you know, suck the life out of your soul. That part isn't true. The part that is true is that there is a matrix, and that you feel that the matrix is false. And that matrix is a combination of two different things. It's a combination of the actual collective unconscious that is being thrust upon you through media, religion, education, and just the, you know, the spiritual collective unconscious of the narrative. You know, this pressure is very real. It has an energy. I won't get into it, but I can feel it when I go into different places, into different cities. Each city has its own cognitive, you know, undercurrent narrative that actually starts programming you, whether you realize it or not. That part is true. You are being programmed. There is a false matrix. It is also true that there are things happening that are coming from the planet Saturn and coming from the moon, and these things are working together to destroy your reality. But you, like me, because I have the same issues that everybody else does, we sometimes can't tell the difference between our limited reality being destroyed so that we can expand into a greater reality. And we can't tell the difference between that and beings trying to trap us and destroy us, because it feels the same. The only difference is when you can truly disconnect from the human, not only the actual 3D reality that is the human reality, and if you can disconnect from the narrative reality that's being pumped into your unconscious mind through all kinds of different ways. But the truth is, you're not going to know the difference. Sometimes you won't know. And this comes back to the student-teacher relationship. I experience this all the time. Many students at some point get into some kind of experience where they think I'm out to get them. They think I'm trying to, you know, whatever. I've been accused of all kinds of crazy things. But it's because what's happening is that they're starting to grow beyond their limitations, and it feels like it's killing them. And so they have to find a reason for it, so they justify it by, you know, projecting onto me a bunch of things I'm not doing. I do the same thing to my teachers. But we're doing it to these guys. And this is where the flat earth theory comes out. This is where the Saturn-Moon matrix, this is where you get the idea that there is a demiurge that is above you, that's trying to trap you and control you. This is all projection. We are projecting onto these beings all of our fears and all of our very real fears of survival. Because our survival has depended upon us interacting with 3 dimensions. And when somebody comes along and starts to destroy 3D and turn it into something beyond what we can understand, it feels like it's killing us. And so these guys are in a tough position. Because on the one hand, time has run out. The evolutionary plateau has happened. And there's only one place to go, and that's to evolve or cease to exist. So they're really stepping up their game. And that's why they're so focused on us. That's why there's so many ET experiences going on. That's why the deep state is working so hard to false flag and create their own flying saucers, and why they're coming out and going and testifying in front of Congress about, we got to look out for these ETs. All that stuff is happening because these guys are stepping up their game. And they would love to just wake you up, but if they just woke you up out of a dead sleep, it would kill you. And so people like Dr. Stephen Greer come along, who come up with this really great way for humans to initiate contact. And then when you consciously initiate contact and you have a contact experience that starts messing with your reality, you can't say somebody did it to you. Because oh, that's right, I did it. I reached out to them. They didn't, fly into my house and abduct me. I asked them to come and manifest in front of me. So the bottom line is that we are headed towards an expansion of awareness. And it is a huge, amazing transformational shift, a huge level of, we're going from here to here instantly. And it's going to be, depending on how attached you are to your intellect and how attached you are to 3D, it's going to be potentially a very challenging experience for at the very least, your intellect. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. All right, I'm babbling. I haven't said really what I wanted to say, but anyway, if you're still here, we can continue talking. This is a question and answer. If you have a question, write the word question in all caps, and then write the actual question in regular script. If you have a feeling, write the word feeling in all caps, and then write your feeling. Just to be clear, a feeling is not an opinion. Telling me that you think that you feel that Jesus is the Son of God is not a feeling, it's an opinion. A feeling is, I'm afraid, I'm scared, I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm sad, I'm confused. I'm angry at you, Mahadeva. That's a feeling. If you write Mahadeva, honest feeling, I'm angry at you, I won't delete you or block you. But if you say, honest feeling, my feeling is that you're a complete dick, I will block you, because I'm not interested in that. All right, so try not to take a dump on my carpet. Let's see what's going on here. Thundra says hello. She is one of my astrologers. You can go to her website, Thundra, thundra.thunderwizard.com. Check out all the things that she has available. At the very least, she's one of my astrologers. I believe, I want you to guess. I'll give you three seconds to guess where I think Vedic astrology came from. 3, 2, 1. What else? Truth Nut question. Write the word question in all caps so that I can see it. Is the CE5 app still working for you? I bought it and can't access some content. Yeah, it's working for me. I don't know why you can't access some content. I think once you buy it, you have access to all of it. I don't use the app anymore, but working for me. Anyway, you shouldn't be talking to me. You should be talking to whoever you bought it from. Creative Virgo, that's not a question. Okay. Creative Virgo question. With your speaking of not dissuading one's awe, I don't know what that means. It's better to accept compliments from they who deem me creative. Okay, I don't know. I don't understand any of that. I don't see a question in that. In fact, I don't even understand it. So try again. Yogi Bharat question. When meditating more than ever lately, I have been getting tingling on the top of my head. I am asking and giving permission to interact with these beings. I'm wondering why tingling. I think you have the answer to that question. I think you answered your own question in the question. What else? Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello. He is also one of my astrologers, and he is a shaman in his own right, and he has his own YouTube channel, Gebo the Shaman. Check him out. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Okay. So while you're coming up with more questions, let me do my business here, because that's how I pay the bills. All of these links are here for a reason. If you're coming onto my channel, and or if you're new to my channel, and the only thing you're doing is listening to me rant, and of course now I've got an obsession, I can't stop talking about it. You'll have to forgive me. Maybe as time goes on, I'll be able to start talking about other things again. But if that's all you're doing, you're only getting 1% of what this channel is about. So the first thing that I recommend everybody do is go on to my YouTube channel page. You can go on to YouTube and type in at the top Thunder Wizard. You'll see my channel page. Go to my channel page. Start looking in the playlists. Start watching things. If you have a question, you want to know about Kundalini, you want to know about runes, you want to know about astrology, you want to know about aliens, you want to know about stuff, you can type in whatever search word you want if you know how to do it. So not just at the top, but you have to look for either a pull down menu or the magnifying glass. Type in anything that you want to know about on my channel. Thousands of videos at this point. Tens of thousands of hours. You can take a look at that. And if you want me to walk you through it, because a lot of people say, I don't even know where to start, great. Go here to thunderwizard.com. You can subscribe at the lowest level, which will take you from the mastery of shamanism all the way up. You can subscribe at the manifestation mastery course. But what I recommend you do is that you subscribe at the very least, you subscribe at the 90-day lightning Qigong level. And go to where that is and start with level 1, press play, and just do the videos that are on there. Do the exercises. And if you do, it will start to raise your vibrational level so that you will be more able to handle the 5D when it comes. I honestly don't know at what level these beings interact with other people. From what I get, for some people, the most that happens is they might see a light in the sky, or they might, like somebody said, feel a little tingling on their head. And great, if that's all that happens for you and you don't go through this complete, total shattering of your mind, nobody's happier for you than me. For some people, you know, they're going to come at you with whatever energy you bring to it. Of course, I bring this energy. I mean, I did 3 CE5s where I just really hammered away at it. And the first 2 or 3 that nothing special happened, I was like, man, I don't think anything's happening. And then the third one, they came along, they said, all right, we'll bring out the big guns. And that's when my brain broke. But the level of energy that these beings are putting into me, I've never experienced anything like this before. Not at this level. And I know that they're still just giving me the tiniest bit. If they were to give me more, I mean, I'd explode from the inside out. So this will help you. The 90-day lightning Qigong will help you, because what is happening to me is going to eventually be happening to everybody. I don't know when or how. I don't know, maybe I'm lucky and they're letting me, you know, experience more in the beginning. Maybe in a few decades people will be more used to it. I don't know. But at some point you're going to come in contact with that energy. And the more high-level energy work you've done, the better off you're going to be. If you want the closest thing to this kind of energy, the intensity, you can go here to maoshan.thunderwizard.com. If you want to see my books, all of my services, go to courses.thunderwizard.com. All right, and of course, when you subscribe or when you get any kind of service or any teaching from me, of course, you help pay the bills, you help keep me from living on the street and babbling to myself about extraterrestrials. All right. Zerlath has thrown a question out here. He says, question, do you know if beings living near our planets can guide us through astrology? Why do they have to be living near our planets? I guess I understand. Do I know if they can guide us through astrology? I don't understand your question. And I can't answer it because I haven't had that kind of interaction with them. They haven't spoken to me. They don't speak to me in English. They don't send me emails. They're just dumping energy directly into me. So I'm assuming that there's a lot of information in that energy, but they don't talk to me like that. But why don't you do your own CE5 and work with them? One of the things, I'm sure that you can work out ways to communicate. One of the things that's happening to me that didn't happen before is that I'm now having all of these like shamanic omen experiences. Yesterday, I came back from the beach and a black snake went across my path from left to right. And I've known already, because since I've started this, they're showing me animal omens, like very unmistakable animal omens. And so now I know that somebody's trying to get my attention. A black snake goes across my path. I better figure out what that means, because something associated with the meaning of that's coming. And I say that because I used to poo-poo that shit before. No, it's just a fucking animal. That shit happens. At some point you're going to run into an animal. It doesn't mean anything. No, when they give me these omens now, it means something. I actually know that there's a physical person behind the scenes manipulating stuff to get my attention, to let me know what's coming. Why they don't just send me an email, I don't know. They do whatever it is that they do. Whether or not they can help you understand astrology, you figure that out. You do your own CE5 and say, can you teach me about astrology? And then hang on to your shorts and watch what happens. What else? Creative Virgo question. When you opened tonight about not dissuading those who perceive you in one way or another, I don't remember doing that and I don't understand it. I suppose I should accept a compliment of my individual and stop at that. I don't know what you're asking me. I don't understand your question. I don't understand what you're asking. Sorry. And that usually means you're thinking too hard. And it also probably means that there's some codependent thing associated with the question. It's what really is probably going on, Creative Virgo, is you probably have a feeling that you want to communicate. And instead of getting to the vulnerable feeling part and just sharing the feeling, it's coming out in this really convoluted, intellectualized question, which is why I don't understand it. Well, Zeralath, you're continuing with your question. I think you've answered your own question. Again, the bottom line is doing it. Just do it. I mean, look, don't do it or not. I don't care. I don't have a need for anybody to do anything. In fact, I don't think people should do CE5 if they're afraid. If they have any doubts, I don't think they should do it. Because again, and usually, as I said, some people, they're meditating, they can feel the tingling, and there's nothing, that's great. Your world isn't coming apart. But once you have an experience that opens that door, you cannot close that door again. That you cannot unknow. Once you taste some aspect of reality that you've never experienced before, you can't unknow it. So I don't think it should be played around with, but I can't speak for them. They seem to be pretty capable of knowing what to do. I've also come to the realization that based on somebody's Vedic chart will determine what their experience is. I happen to have Jupiter retrograde in Pisces in the 8th house. And that Jupiter has always been a very traumatic planet for me. It's a very transformative planet that just destroys my world, and then the result of that is I have these huge shamanic experiences and awarenesses and gifts that come from that. So I'm just one of those people. Some people that it's just going to, there are some people that these beings do appear to in the flesh, and it's not that big of a deal for them. So I bet you if I look on their chart, I'll see probably like Moon in Cancer in the 12th house or something like that, which, their mind is able to handle it. Anyway, everybody's different. Okay, nothing else. That's not a question. Okay, so are we done? Nobody's got a question for me? You guys don't have a question about how reality is going to come crashing down and how it's really not a death, how it's really just an expansion of awareness? Is that concept so simple everybody gets it? Nobody has a question about the Saturn-Moon matrix and how David Icke and people like that are actually tapping into their instincts are correct, but their interpretations of it are based on their fear and their projection? Nobody has any questions about that? Timothy Zoll, question. When making contact, do you believe it matters where we meditate? No. The most powerful experiences I have are in my bedroom. And I specifically do that because if I want a really deep, powerful experience, I'll go and lie in bed, close the drapes. I've done it in the afternoon before. The reason why I don't do it at night is because I have to go to bed afterwards. It's a little bit creepier when it's, 10 o'clock or midnight. The only time that I feel, and I haven't tried it so I don't know, but the only time I feel that CE5 might be difficult is around sunrise. And that's because the power of the sun, people don't realize it, but when the sun comes up, it has this huge, the magnetic field of the earth gets really empowered as the sun comes up over the horizon. And I think that, when I've meditated in those ways and I've tried to meditate and connect to the sun directly, the feeling is that the magnetic power of the sun is so overwhelming that, might act as an interference between, being able to connect with them. I connect with them better at night. I think people are the same, but I have good. I have had positive experiences in the afternoon, and I do it then because I want to have a deep meditative experience. And so when I'm feeling kind of sleepy, I'll go in and do that work and reach out to them, and sure enough, they show up. I had one time where I did that and I didn't wait long enough. I was in my bedroom and I meditated and I asked for them to show up, and then I meditated a little bit, and then I guess I just decided that it wasn't going to work, and I got up and I walked out and I came down and I was sitting at my computer, and then the next thing I know, I felt this, and I went, oh, because I forget sometimes it takes them a while to show up. They have to get in their car and drive over here. So, sometimes it takes a little while. What else? Okay, so Mr. Jonathan Hayes, welcome to the channel. Let me explain to you how the questions work. So if you look above, you'll see Timothy. You see how he writes the word question in all caps, and then he writes his question. The whole point is just to get my attention and let me know you're asking a question. You don't need to scream at me and write your whole, it's not I'm asking you to write your question in all caps. I'm asking you to write the word question in all caps, and then just write your question. Welcome to the channel. I hope I cleared that up. You say, please explain further about the Saturn-Moon matrix. All right, so since I threw that out there, I will. All right, so you've heard about the Saturn-Moon matrix, right? You've heard that the planet Saturn, you've heard the planet Saturn is the devil or Jehovah, you know, the demiurge, this whole like neo-Gnostic demiurge Saturn, that Saturn wants to control you and keep you trapped and all of that. You've heard that the moon is this empty thing that's used in order to, from Saturn, the moon directs the evil waves of the reptilian beings, and then the reptilian beings are here on Earth and they're shape-shifted as the royals in the world and all of that. And you've heard that we are, and they eat babies underneath I mean, all this stuff. You've heard about all that stuff. So the first thing you need to understand before I start unpacking all of that is to understand that human beings project. So you have to understand what psychological projection is. If you don't know what it is, type it in Google, psychological projection. It means that you project onto others your own feelings that you are either unaware of because they're on a deep psychological level, or you're unwilling or uncomfortable to feel them, so you push them down, and the next thing you know, you've been around people that do this. You walk in the room and you're feeling good, and they'll say, "Why are you so angry? I can't be around you. You're too angry." Like, I'm not. I don't know what you're talking about. It's because they're angry and they can't tolerate their own anger, so they project it onto you. So all of this stuff, I'm just going to say all of the David Icke stuff is all projection, but it's based on actual intuitions. The intuitions are in the right neighborhood, but then when you actually, spell it out, it spells out something inaccurate. So let's start with the reptilians. Now, I can't tell you the species of ETs that I've interacted with. I'm making some guesses, but the truth is I honestly don't know. I believe that I may have had a couple of visits by the guy on the far left there, the guy with the big triangular head. Might have even been that particular person, I don't know. But if you've seen the CE5 movie, you see that that bright ruby red orb, and then that guy comes out of it. I've seen that orb has come and visited me, and I've seen it in my mind's eye where they have, whoever it was, put that orb in my mind, and they said, basically that's who I am. So I don't know. I don't know what species of beings have visited me. But it wouldn't surprise me if one of them was a reptilian. So let's be clear. Every single animal, when you go out and you look at every single kind of animal, given enough time, could evolve into a being that could then become, one of these beings of light. We are a primate. For instance, there's a lot of ETs that look a lot like humans, almost identical, except they don't have ears. They don't have these things. They just have holes in the side of their head. Because this is a holdover from being in the jungle and needing to hear from multiple angles. In fact, we still have the muscles on the side of our ears that do that. In fact, when you hear something behind you, unconsciously, your ear will go back like that. That's how close we are to being a monkey. Point being is that you look at a lizard, you look at, anything, like some of those lizards, there are lizards that run around on two legs. I've seen those before. A snake, a chipmunk, a squirrel, any of those beings can eventually evolve into something that can become a being of light. Human beings are a good example. If we go back in our evolutionary history, millions of years, you're going to find something that looks like a rodent. We are all, our ancestors were rodents. So it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if there were light beings out there that when they showed themselves in their physical form, they were reptilians. But the reason why David Icke focuses on reptilians and the reason why people are drawn to reptilians is because we project onto ETs, the ones that if we're afraid, we project onto them the things we fear in ourselves the most, which is our reptilian nature. We have a reptilian brainstem that operates from, when you look at a reptile, let me give you an example. There's a YouTube channel with a guy who is an alligator wrangler or something like that. And he's got one of these farms and he hangs out with alligators. He's got alligators as pets. They swim with him and he'll be there, in the pool, and he'll be, have his arm around his alligator friend and all of that. The alligator's very, likes him and is connected to him, and you can tell that they have a strong bond. But he says, people think that my alligator loves me like a dog. He says he doesn't. He's used to me. He's connected to me, whatever connection he has, but he doesn't love me like a dog loves me. So like if you die in front of your dog isn't going to immediately begin eating you. Your dog will mourn. Your dog would rather die than have you die. That's how connected to you your dog is. But an alligator, if you were to have a seizure and fall on the floor, the alligator would immediately begin eating you. And it didn't matter if you were the best of friends 10 seconds before. That's because he's a reptile. He is geared to fight you, to eat you, to fuck you, to run away from you. That's what he's geared to do. He's wired to do that. And he said that he once saw these two alligators swimming around, and they were mates. They'd been together for years. They were friends. They got along. And one of them had a seizure and flipped over, and immediately the spouse, started eating while it was still alive. Just ate his wife. He said that's what would happen if I got hit in the head with something and I knocked out. If I started, floating, he would eat me. He wouldn't think twice, and he'd never think about it again. So when people are projecting onto things they do not understand, beings that are more powerful than they are, and they're coming from fear, their first response is to turn them into reptiles. Because reptiles, we experience them. If you've looked a snake in the eye, if you've looked at these animals in the eye, you can tell that nobody's home. The experience is you're on the other end of a narcissist. You're on the other end of a being that has no empathy for you. And this is our greatest fear. Our greatest fear is to be in the presence of a stronger being that has no empathy for us, that will eat us. So what we're dealing here with people in the past, I used to say these are uneducated people. But a better way to put it is that they're emotionally unevolved. And so when you're afraid of what you don't understand, you're going to project onto it. So David Icke is projecting onto the world that the world is, or that the universe is controlled by these reptilian beings. He's told you everything about his psychology. He's told you that he's deathly afraid, that he doesn't understand anything that is more powerful than he is, and his knee-jerk response is to assume that it wants to kill him, fuck him, and eat him. So when we talk about the very real elites that are ruling the world, who are psychopaths, who are sociopaths. They are narcissists who do actually see everybody else in the world as an animal to be used for their own empowerment. You are either something to make money off of, or your energy, or your, whatever it is. I mean, our society is run by these guys who want nothing more than to take everything from you and to devalue you and treat you like an object. So they treat you as though they have no empathy, because they don't. And from an unconscious level, we go back millions of years, because when we were those rodents running around, the things that we had to be really afraid of were these giant reptiles. And so what we do is we project onto people that have more power than us when we're afraid of them, and we see them as reptiles. So what David Icke does is he projects that out into the universe. Now, the things to understand is that the elites actually use this against you. So the Saturn-Moon matrix, or the idea that reptilians are running the world, nobody loves that more than the actual elites who are running the world. They would turn that into a religion if they could. Because as long as you are afraid of things more powerful than you, but you don't look at them, they say, no, it's not us, it's those guys. It's the ETs. They're reptilians. And as long as you have this fear that you are going to be consumed or destroyed, and if somebody puts a face on it that goes deep back into your genetic memory millions of years ago and says they're shape-shifting reptiles, then you're going to believe it. And then they can continue to lie to you, they can continue to abuse you, they can continue to use your fear against you. So nobody loves David Icke's theories more than the royal house themselves. David Icke says that the royals are shape-shifting reptiles. And they love that. Because as long as you think that reptiles are out to get you, then all they have to do is go, oh yeah, and see those extraterrestrials, those are reptiles. They're coming to steal your soul. We need to go to war with them. You need to be part of our one world government. The only way to save yourself from those reptiles from Saturn is to be part of the one world government we're creating. We're doing this to protect you. Saturn represents karma. Unevolved people are afraid of looking at their own issues. I am transparent with you, and I tell you all of my deep, dark feelings and my fears, and I do that on purpose. Besides the fact that it helps me to stay conscious about them, I do it so that you can identify those same feelings within yourself. And I teach you about critical thinking so that when you face these beings and your fear comes up and your paranoia comes up and you start wanting to turn them into something they're not out of your fear of the unknown, hopefully you will remember my example and you will go, okay, let me think this through. Have they broken my boundaries? No, I sought them out. Have they done anything physically harmful to me? No, never. Have they come into my house and stolen anything? They've not messed anything that I own. The interactions they've given me have always been very loving and positive. They've never done or given me the feeling that I was ever in danger. It's always after the fact, when I've had my entire energy system revamped and I'm so afraid of the changes in me that I then start wondering, what are they doing? Why won't they show themselves? What are they trying to do? They're deceiving me. I want you to have that understanding so you can ask yourself those same questions, because you will probably go through them. The Saturn-Moon matrix is telling you that you can't trust your own mind. Because the truth of the matter is that Saturn is your best friend. Saturn wants to tell you the truth. Saturn wants to show you, here's how you've been destroying yourself. You experience it as karma, as negative karma weighing on you. And Saturn is going, no, listen, I care about you and I want you to see how you're being self-destructive, and I'm going to sit on you until you realize what you're doing. And the moment you start looking at yourself, I'm going to get up and I'm going to try and help you. The Saturn-Moon matrix, the reason why they call it the Saturn-Moon matrix is because your mind is not your intellect. And if you are somebody who believes in David Icke's theories, it means you are stuck in your intellect, just as I have been. And it means that you believe if you can think your way out of something, you can control a situation and you'll be safe. And that is a reptilian mindset. The moon is your emotions, not just your negative emotions, but your emotions of love. It is your nurturing capacity. It is the desire to reach out with your intuition and connect with other people's energy and other people's spirit. It is the mother, the nurturer. This is the moon. But when you feel that you are in danger, your instinct is to shut the mind down and to go into your intellect. When you are on the battlefield, the last thing you want to do is start thinking about what your emotions are, because that'll get you killed. So people who believe that the moon is being used by Saturn to take over your soul are people who are afraid to let go of their defenses and allow their intuition and their emotions and their spirit to guide them. So where the David Icke people are right is that they are right. There is an assault on our reality by beings of light. You will project onto them and say they are false beings of light, which is impossible. There's no such thing as false light. Light is light and dark is dark. There's no way that you can be blinded by darkness. You know, like too much darkness, it's too bright. It's impossible. But if you are afraid of the unknown, which is another way of saying the unknown, you will project onto that. You will project all of your fears onto it, because we are being assaulted. It's a strong word, but our reality is shifting so fast that our understanding of reality is under assault. And it feels violent. And so you believe that your intuitive mind is lying to you. And then you come up with this Saturn-Moon matrix where you think the moon is some hollow piece of green cheese that is used by the Saturnian reptilians to beam into your, the matrix into your, it's all nonsense. The moon is your best friend. Human beings, the name for human is man, which means moon, which means mind. Human beings are intended to be minds that reflect the spirit, the way that the moon reflects the sun. But the instincts behind that are correct. If people can stop, which is what I have been doing this past month, I have been sitting with my fears, and I have been taking action completely opposite of my fear. I have continued to reach out to these beings. And each time that I am expanded even further, I have more fears. And I continue to take more action to get deeper into their understanding and deeper into their energy. Which is the opposite of what the Saturn-Moon matrix people want you to do. They want you to climb inside your fear, and they want you to fear the light. And the thing is, when you see the light, it's because you are dying. But when you die in the 3D, you rise into the 5D. I'm not talking about physical death, I'm being metaphorical here. So I'm not saying that you will physically die when you go into 5D, but you will have to die to your understanding and your connection to the intellectual control you believe that you have in the 3D. Intellectual control is connected to hate, to anger, to fear, to victim mentality. All right, so you asked me to tell you more about the Saturn-Moon matrix, so there you go. Yogi Beret, question, why Saturn and the Moon matrix? Can you further explain? All right, I did my best to do that. Creative Virgo, question, third and final attempt, laugh out loud. Didn't you say that you do not try to talk someone out of their deific perception of you? I get compliments, tend to deflect and say they have their own. Instead, say thank you. All right, so that really wasn't a question. You've kind of answered your own question. So you're wanting me to co-sign your understanding that when people give you compliments, instead of crapping all over their compliments, you should say thank you. I agree. Zeralath, question, how will our relationship with Saturn change with all the freedom coming in the ship? You're operating from the assumption that you have a bad relationship with Saturn. Saturn is your best friend. It's not Saturn's fault if you are afraid of looking at your own true self. It's not Saturn's fault. How is your relationship going to change with yourself? I don't know. That you'll find that out. But you know, Zerlath, it's pretty clear to me. I hope this isn't hurtful to you, but it's pretty clear to me you've got a strong attachment to this neo-Gnostic victim mentality garbage. And you've got a strong bias against Saturn, which is, you know, this is, you know, you learned it from somewhere, but it's this victim mentality garbage that says that there's this demiurge that is trying to keep you trapped on this prison planet and all that other fucking horseshit. Saturn is your best friend. He's your best friend now. He'll be your best friend after the shift. You can decide to change your assumptions about all of these things. So you can decide, if you change your assumption about Saturn right here and now, your relationship with Saturn will change. Saturn simply says, again, if Saturn is in your chart and is challenging in a certain area, which will show up as things like illness, poverty, you know, loneliness, mental issues. That's just simply Saturn saying, look, my friend, I'm not going to stand by while you deceive yourself and you hurt yourself. So I'm going to keep showing this to you until you deal with it. And the moment that you stop fighting it, the moment that you stop screaming that you're a victim, the moment that you stop blaming others, the moment, you know, blaming the demiurge or blaming, you know, whomever, the moment that you stop doing that and you take full responsibility and you say, okay, what can I do to take full responsibility for my life? Saturn goes, that's all I was waiting for. Now let me help you with that. And then Saturn is your best friend. Karma is your best friend. There's no such thing as good karma or bad karma. Karma is simply the result of your actions. If you have negative karma, it means that you have acted in ways that are destructive to your own spirit. And you're having a negative response from the energy matrix of the universe. If you act with discipline and you act contrary to your fears and you act positively towards yourself and others, then there's this thing called good karma. And it's just you get a positive response. Philip Church, question. What do you know about pyramid-shaped ships? I don't. I don't know a whole hell of a lot about them. I'm interested to know. I believe that the pyramids themselves, the pyramids themselves are 35,000 years old, I believe, and I believe that they used the power of the Nile to pump water through them in order to create an electromagnetic charge that went all across the world in an attempt to prevent Kali Yuga from descending on human beings' minds. And I believe that extraterrestrials had some part in helping humans create those. It didn't work, obviously, because the pyramids aren't doing that now. So there's something to the shape of a pyramid that I think that has a lot to do with raising of electromagnetic energy and kundalini and those kinds of things. I teach a pyramid mudra. If you guys want to, you can check it out at 90-day lightning qigong. I teach you to do a pyramid mudra, which is probably the most powerful and protective mudra and meditation I've ever taught. So if you want to be protected from negativity, you can go do that, and you can experience a lot of power and a lot of protection. But I don't know. I think that I've heard that there might be some human-created pyramid ships. I honestly don't know. I do know that there are actual ET who have pyramid-shaped ships. That's all I know. Other than that, you and I know about the same. What else? Yogi Beret, feeling. Grateful for this knowledge. I'm glad. Thanks for sharing it. 09 Arts, question. Can you share a mantra for a person to do action once they receive an idea, to not delay, not to procrastinate, not to be lazy? Yes, I'm talking about myself. I want to change. Any mantra. What's important about mantra is that mantras, by the way, look, you only know what you've been told or what you've read or experienced. But you're talking about mantras like they're, a magic pill, like a magic spell. That's not how mantras work. But if you're going to get a mantra, it is advisable to get one from a qualified Vedic astrologer who can look at your chart and give you a mantra based on your vibration. Because the mantra that works for me might actually be challenging for you. So go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. There are two people that are on here right now, Vincent.thunderwizard.com and Thundra.thunderwizard.com. Both of them are my astrologers, and both of them can give you a mantra that you can use, not just for that thing, but for your entire consciousness, which includes everything you put on there. So the thing is to do your mantra every day, just like you would brush your teeth before you go to bed. You do your mantra for 10 minutes, brush your teeth, and go to bed. You do that on a daily basis. You don't have to have a special pill for procrastination and a special pill for that. You just work with your unconscious and you do the mantra, and over time it starts to change your unconscious so that you don't act self-destructively and you become more aware. 09 Arts, question. How many times should I chant a rune mantra? A rune is not a mantra. A rune is a rune, but you can chant them like a mantra. How many times? I don't care. A safe thing is if you chant, and it depends on, how runes affect you, by the way. I don't mess around with runes, because if I talk about a rune, that rune will completely take over my energy in my life, and the energy will be more than I can handle. I guess because that's just the way I'm wired. Some people can chant the whole Futhark every day, and it's sort of just like taking a vitamin C. It sort of helps them get through the day. So I don't know how many times you can chant a rune. you should check it out, how it works with you. And runes are not mantras. Runes are, you're going straight to the energy source of that, the energy of that rune. And you won't know what it does to you until you experiment with it. If I tell you what it does for me, I don't know how it's going to be for you. How many times? 108. If you chant anything 108 times, it goes through your entire energy body once. So that's a safe one, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't chant a rune 108 times unless I was damn sure I wanted that energy in my body. But you may be different than me. So you won't know until you try it out. Timothy Zoll, question: can you please explain how important it is to have positive intentions while making contact? How important it is? I can only share my experience. I can't speak for them. I would say that there's probably, again, I'm totally ready to change my mind about all of this. None of these are facts. I'm just learning like you. I'm going to put CE5 experiences into 3 categories. The first one is a complete dud where nothing works. I'm thinking this is almost impossible. I'm coming to the understanding that these beings are, they're far beyond my understanding. So maybe I'm overestimating their power. I don't know. But the first category would be when nothing happens. So I can tell you when something wouldn't happen. Let's say somebody says, I'm going to do CE5 so that I can capture the being and put it in a glass. Well, he's not going to show up for that. He's going to be like, no, he's not going to show up for that. Somebody is going to do CE5 and he's going to learn the secret to telepathy so that he can put he can, make women fall in love with him. Maybe he'll show up and do something you didn't expect, but you have some kind of self-centered, really negative, reptilian kind of, motivation. They're not going to show up for that, or if they do, it's not going to be what you expected. The second kind of experience is the experience where you don't think anything happened, but they definitely showed up. I feel pretty confident that anybody, even if you're sitting there right now, if you were to just put out the vibe that I want to meet you in person, and without even having to go through that, if you were to just imagine that they were there and say, if anybody's out there flying overhead wants to talk to me, I would like to meet you in person, and you stay in that mindset, I feel pretty confident they're going to show up. I don't know when, I don't know how long it'll take, but they're going to show up. If you put your best effort into meditating, which just means just relaxing and breathing and trying to just put yourself in a positive frame of mind, whatever that means for you, and you put out the intention and you throw it out there, they're going to show up. You may not have an experience, so you can't expect anything from them. You can have like me, I had my radios and my EMF meter and I had my camera and I had my video camera going. I had all this stuff in case they wanted to take over my radio, and there's been a couple of times where they haven't engaged with any of those things. And I walked away from those experiences thinking nothing happened, until afterwards when I look back on it and I realized, no, they were there. Understand that these are individuals. They're different species, so they have their own inclinations. They're from different planets. As we know, each planet has its own type of mindset, its own kind of energy. They are different individuals that have their own proclivities. Some of them may not want to take over your radio. That might be too loud and obnoxious. They may show up and see you and they may say, I don't know this person yet. I'm just getting to know them. I don't want to, violate their boundaries. I'm just meeting this person for the first time. But one of the things that you'll experience is that you might feel some emotions come up. You might feel like some, who knows, some feelings will come up. Like for me, the first few times what started happening is I started feeling unworthy, like immensely unworthy. And that was because that was an issue in my heart that hadn't, that was part of my protective layer that needed to get worked on. So I think just their energy when they show up, all of a sudden my stuff started coming out. I think the second time that I tried it, I think what happened is that whoever and I could be wrong about this too, but it wouldn't surprise me if this were true. And I say this because I was out there, and one of the things that happened early on is I had this, as I'm imagining myself going through the universe, and again, I'm not seeing things clearly like a vision and I see everything in 3D. I just sort of have this vague sort of like really crappy imagination going on, and I'm distracted by the mosquitoes biting me and the sounds and all that. And but I get this feeling that there was this planet that was like bright white. I don't know why I saw it that way, but I saw like this bright white planet. And I was interested in that, and I went to that planet, and as I got there, I had this experience, and this was before I knew that there were multiple, species. But I had this feeling that there were these short people that were wearing like these turtlenecks that were completely bald, and they were extremely happy, nice people. And when I showed up, they all like went, "Oh, look, it's Mahadeva. Mahadeva's here." And they all like gathered around me and were like, like dancing, and they were so happy to see me. And I'm like, am I making this up? And I said, "Do you guys want to come and visit me?" And the response was, "No, we can't today, but we are going to send somebody to come see you later." And I left that and I thought, I just made that up. Nothing happened in that experience. I'm now convinced that, and the feeling was that they said, "No, we're not going to come see you now because we're going to send out the big guns for you because you're a little too protected. And we can't get past your emotional armor. We can't get past it. So we're going to send the big guns to help break open your armor." This was all just a feeling that came to me. It wasn't like, they wrote it out in a script or anything like that. And I went, that's interesting. And I thought, well, that's a bunch of garbage. My brain's making stuff up because nothing's happening. And I did. I packed everything up. I went home, and then I saw this whole thing with an armadillo. And I won't get into that, but it turned out to be very prophetic. My armor got cracked open. The next time I did it, the guy who showed up was the red guy, and he was the big guns, and he cracked my armor wide open. And I haven't been the same ever since. And I'm very appreciative of him for doing that, by the way. So the third kind is the one I just described, where somebody shows up and either you have this undeniable like craft come and land over you, or somebody points their finger at your heart and you get this huge rush of energy and you like almost pass out from the bliss, and something happened, or something physical happens. They take over your radio. Something happens where you cannot deny what just happened, or you feel them. They come in, you hear them walking around, something like that. That's the third kind of experience. To answer your question, how important is it to have positive intentions? My belief, based on my experience, is that if you have any honest intention at all, they will show up. If you don't have an experience the first time or the second time or the third time, they were there. They're just either feeling you out, or they are trying. It may mean that if they were to show up and show up in a big way, it might actually make you crap your pants. And they don't want to do that because they run the risk. There's a real risk that if you experience too much of their vibration, you will go into fear mode. And you will assume that they're evil spirits trying to destroy you. That will be just your response. And I believe very strongly that they really want to make sure that they don't have that happen. I think they pushed the boundaries with me because I wanted it and because they knew that I would do a lot of critical thinking to examine it and allow the transformation to happen so that I could, maybe share it with you. But it's just not that big of a deal. The only thing you have to have is just, and you don't have to be a good person, by the way. You could be, you could be a serial killer. If a serial killer woke up one day and decided, I honestly want to connect with beings greater than myself, I want to have a better life, they would show up. They wouldn't hold anything against you. They don't have any judgment. You'd probably have to go through some dramatic changes in order to keep the relationship. But they don't judge anybody for anything. So you don't have to be a good person. You don't have to be a good meditator. You don't have to have perfect intentions. You just have to have an honest intention, and they'll show up. And if it doesn't happen the first time or the second time, just keep doing it, and eventually it'll work. And the thing is, now I can feel them. When I close, the thing is, I have to make the decision because sometimes I half-ass it, and if I start to half-ass it, I'll stop because it's not fair to them and it's not fair to me. But if I'm serious about it and I make the commitment that I want to have them come and see me, I can feel in my energy, in my heart, I can feel this connection happen, and it's this almost like this. Like when you're in a car and you step on the gas and the car goes, I feel something like that happen. It's this intensity, it's this rush, it's this excitement. It might even be their excitement. There's something that Dr. Greer said that I believe. I don't know if it's true because I haven't experienced it, I haven't seen it, but I believe it. And he said that on their ships, they have they have technology on their ships that is based on consciousness, and they have like this, like they have this scanner basically on their ship. I mean, they could be a billion light years from here. It wouldn't matter how far away they are. But they have these passive scanners that are scanning for consciousness that is, searching the universe. And if you pop up on their screen, they'll be able to find out where you are. They will then use that technology to connect with you, assuming they don't have the powers to do that by themselves. I honestly don't know. But I can feel when I've connected with them, even if they're not there, I can feel them sending me energy from the other side of the universe. And I can feel when they've shown up. And they're parked, that their ship is literally parked above the house and they've beamed down. I can feel that as well. And once you make a connection with them, that connection doesn't go away. That's why I said, once you open this door, you can't close it. It's a connection that I think, you can be no matter where you are, and if you reach out and ask for them or think about them, like consciously want to connect with them, they're going to feel it and their energy will be there with you immediately. That's been my experience so far. And the days that I have chosen to not connect with them, like when I was having a really hard time and I didn't know if their energy was harming me or helping me, or not that they're harming me, but I didn't know if I was able to be in their presence without it, destroying me or damaging me because I was in so much pain. And I spent a few days, not connecting with them. And then as I was lying on the couch, sure enough, the red orb just came out of the sky. And I went, okay, I guess it's time to meditate. Did I answer your question? Yogi Beret question. Was Saturn the first sun many, many years ago? No. Actually, the first planet in our solar system was Jupiter. And Jupiter, had it been bigger, might have turned into a sun. Jupiter has the most power in our solar system. It has far more power than Saturn. Jupiter is the only thing that has more power than Jupiter is the sun. And so no, that, Saturn was the first sun. I don't know where that crap comes from and all that, the Saturn, the blah, it's coming from some other, I don't know, I could be wrong, but it reminds me of some of those victim mentality, reptilian, nonsensical garbage. Olivia Rackley question. Can you request their aid in enabling you to use spirit travel and teach me the ecstatic dance? I don't know. You got to talk to them. You got to create your own relationship with them. I can't speak for them. You can ask them and request anything you want. Olivia, I'm going to be straight with you because I care about you. Your desire to do things only through spirit travel, you've got to work through some of your issues. I got nothing against spirit travel, but you've got some fear-based victim mentality issues you definitely have to work with. I do recommend that you get some counseling. My prediction is that if you go to them, I can't say what they're going to do, and you connect with them, which there's no reason why you won't be able to, they're going to want to help you with that. So they're not butlers. They're not here, they're not circus performers, and they're not butlers. They're not here to do what we want. So if you connect with them, I suggest that everybody, it's okay if you have a specific need or a question, but be prepared that they either won't acknowledge that or they won't answer it, or if they do answer it, it's not going to be just them meeting your needs to make you happy, especially if your needs are coming from your limitations. And Olivia, I'm telling you, though, that question that you asked, because you've asked me similar questions, that's coming from your limitations that you need to grow past. I say that with love and kindness, but please feel free to ask them. If you want to ask them for whatever, please connect with them. It will only help you, and I can't tell you what kind of experience you'll have, but they will only want to help you regardless. And maybe they'll give you exactly what you want. I can't speak for them. I don't know. What else? Anyway, that's my experience of you, Olivia, but again, I'm not speaking for them. So please don't let that limit you. And again, I'm more than happy to be wrong about all of that. I'm a very limited human being with my own limitations. I don't see any other questions here. So I guess we're done. I've done all the business. All the links are here for you. My strong recommendation for everybody is that they subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. I've just uploaded the second level, part 2 of the Hool Breath, which is now a higher level of the Hool Breath used to connect the earth to the extraterrestrial energies and to yourself. And level 2 part 3 will be coming out probably in the next few weeks. So check that out. If you have a question, feel free to leave a question in the video comments section of any of my videos, and if I like your question, I'll make a video about it. As always, I am a work in progress. If I've done or said anything that's been hurtful, offensive in any way, please take my humble apologies and know that I am doing my best to be a good person and be a better and more empowering, loving person. And feel free to share those feelings, whatever they are. You know, as long as you can share your feelings with respect, I will honor that. So that's it. Nothing else for me. I wish you guys all the best. I love you all, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And yeah, there it is. All right. See you guys around.